even though the Supreme Court struck down some portions of the Arizona immigration law, Scalia had an interesting dissent in that case. Now, he represented the conservatives who thought that the whole law should be maintained, not even half of it stricken. They thought that the Arizona law did not conflict with the federal laws at all. But I found a couple of lines in his opinion to be the most interesting. Now, he agrees in part. I want you to understand that. The parts that they uphold, Scalia agrees with. The parts that they don't uphold, he dissents to. So here's what he said. He said, quote, Arizona has moved to protect its sovereignty. Finally, there you go, Justice Antonin Scalia standing up for states' rights and saying, look, Arizona's state, it's got a sovereignty, and of course it could pass laws saying that if you are here illegally, that it could take criminal action against you within the state of Arizona and not just wait for the federal government. All right, here. He's always been a states' rights guy. He continued to say, if securing its territory in this fashion is not within the power of Arizona, we should cease referring to it as a sovereign state. Very strong language. My God, if Arizona wants to pass laws in this regard, no matter what federal law is, they should be able to do that. Otherwise, they're not even a sovereign state. States' rights. You know there's a catch coming, right? So today, on the same exact day, on a different decision, on the case of Citizens United. Now, this is the actual case is called American Tradition Partnership versus Bullock. It's a Montana case that has to do with Citizens United. Montana said, we've had our own laws in the sovereign state of Montana for literally the last 100 years. It was a referendum passed by the voters saying corporations cannot give to politicians because we think it gives them too much power and it corrupts our system. What did Scalia do? He turned around and said, states' rights? Of course not. Shut up about your states' rights. Montana doesn't have any rights. No, corporations have all the rights. Corporations are people, my friend. They didn't even hear the case. The majority that ruled on it, including Justice Kennedy, the so-called moderate conservative, they said, no, we are in favor of Citizens United, and if there's any state law that we think disagrees with Citizens United, we strike it down. You don't have any states' rights. You're not a sovereign. No, you bow your head and do as the multinational corporations tell you to do. And if they want to buy your politicians, you shut up in Montana and you let them buy your politicians. I love this because in the original Citizens United case, Justice Kennedy had written these two very important lines. Quote, independent expenditures, meaning the kinds that corporations and rich people do to influence politics, including those made by corporations, do not give rise to corruption or the appearance of corruption. But the Montana Supreme Court had said, our law is very clear in Montana. The voters said it, we agree, it does lead to corruption. States' rights, you shut up. No, I don't care. Corporations have all the power. And then the second part of what Kennedy had said was, no sufficient governmental interest justifies limits on the political speech of nonprofit or for-profit corporations. In other words, you don't even have any government interest in trying to get corporations to not buy your politicians. That was in the original Citizens United case, saying that there is not even an appearance of impropriety. There couldn't possibly be an appearance that it appears that these corporations, by giving bribes to politicians, legal bribes, saying, here's $100,000 or here's $1 million, that does not lead to an appearance of corruption. Well, that's the craziest thing anybody's ever heard. And the Montana Supreme Court said that's just not the case in Montana. Here, the voters are absolutely convinced, and so is the legislature, and so is the Montana Supreme Court, that it does, at the very least, lead to an appearance of corruption. And here, they didn't even hear arguments, 5-4. The dissenting justices said, we got to hear this out. What are you doing? Obviously, it leads to, at the very least, appearance of corruption. And the 5 conservative justices said, we don't give a damn about any ideology, any states' rights, any corruption or appearance of corruption. We are ruled by the corporations. That is why we were put here, and we will do their bidding, and we will do their service. So any hope that you had that this Supreme Court, that Justice Kennedy would see the light, and that somehow they would overturn Citizens United, gone. No such hope. Supreme Court is hopeless in this regard. There's only one hope that remains, and that is a constitutional amendment. Because the virus is complete in Washington. They're never going to do it. Those corrupt politicians that are bought by all those corporate money in the first place. The Supreme Court is bought by the corporations. Those same corrupt politicians put those same corrupt Supreme Court justices on that Supreme Court, and they're never going to change their mind, and they didn't today. So the only way to do it is to amend the Constitution and say, hey, apparently we weren't clear enough. There's a poll out that says 81% of the country believes that money influences politicians, that it corrupts politicians. Apparently we weren't clear enough when 81% of the country said that. So here's your amendment that says corporations cannot give money. They are not human beings, and anybody, even a child, knows they're not human beings. Do they have eyes? Do they have ears? Do they have a lung? Do they have a liver? What kind of sick joke is this? They're not human beings. They do not have the rights, the constitutional rights, or the human rights of citizens of this country. And from now on, we're going to publicly finance all of our elections so that these corporate interests and these moneyed interests can't buy our politicians for a nickel and a dime. And boy, they come cheap. They're so easy to bribe. So today, it is absolutely clear. Supreme Court is not here to help you. It's here to hurt you. They don't work for you. They work for the corporations. And it's time to amend the Constitution and tell them, no, we're in charge. You're not in charge.